A really fascinating article on Elizabeth Warren's relationship with Hillary Clinton came out in Politico a few days ago about how Warren leveraged a threat of a primary run in 2016 to prevent Clinton from appointing pro-Wall Street people to her theoretical cabinet. Obviously, that never happened because Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump, but this is from Politico magazine, which is very insidery, but they also wrote that devastating Obama piece where they delineated his opinion of all the candidates from inside information, and it rang very true, so I'm inclined to believe the story too. And it rings true with everything I've heard about Elizabeth Warren being a progressive legislator, from reporters and smart fellow progressives in the know, not just YouTubers without journalistic integrity who are picking apart her every move because they get views, specifically the Tulsi stands. Yeah, I'm not holding back anymore on her. In December 2014, Clinton's team began worrying that Warren was reconsidering a presidential run and arranged a meeting between the two principals at Clinton's home in Washington. Warren came in, quote, aggressive and firing on all cylinders, catching Clinton off guard, said a Clinton official familiar with the meeting. She pressed Clinton to commit to not appointing Wall Street-friendly people to her administration, as Warren felt Bill Clinton and Barack Obama had felt. It was true. Citigroup basically appointed Obama's whole cabinet. This also does give insight, too, into Warren's frustrating non-endorsement of Bernie Sanders in 2016, if you guys, of course, notoriously remember, or her action was notorious. She waited until the primary was basically over to throw her support behind Hillary Clinton. So she was the only female senator not to endorse Hillary Clinton, but just didn't endorse and just sat on the fence. I vehemently disagree with that. She endorsed Hillary after it was effectively done. But this does give you insight into how Warren had a behind-the-scenes relationship with Clinton that wasn't cozy, certainly, but was in place. And it was put in place by Warren, basically dangling the threat of a run in the years leading up to 2016 and that campaign, basically for concessions on Wall Street people that Clinton wanted to stack her administration with, which is in keeping with her personality and her leadership. That list, the contents of which have not been previously reported, was just the beginning of an intensive 2-year campaign by Warren, her staff, and outside allies to push, prod, and shape the would-be Clinton administration, an effort that also included an informal blacklist of Clinton allies that Warren and outside partners would resist if nominated for jobs in the Clinton administration, which included BlackRock chairman Larry Fink and Facebook's chief operating officer Sheryl Sandberg, which, that gives me so much great joy. That's the lean-in lady who's the godmother of elitist, centrist, white feminism. Just try harder, women, and you'll get that promotion. It gives me great joy that she was on Warren's blacklist. The constant interference sometimes frustrated and annoyed the former Secretary of State and her team. It was kind of a pain in the ass to be thinking about her all the time, recalled one Clinton transition official. But Clinton's team listened, aware of both Warren's credibility among progressives and her willingness to use her bully pulpit to condemn members of her own party. Even more acutely, they felt the ever-present threat that she'd throw her own hat into the ring. It's really fascinating that they saw her as that much of a threat. Obviously, none of these administration appointments ever came to pass because Clinton lost, but there was one paragraph in this article that was so important into giving you insight into Warren's theory of change, who she is as a person, who she is as a leader, and why I think she'd be a very good president and the most transformative one in decades, but why I believe Sanders' vision of change is much more effective. The 2-year campaign to mold the would-be Hillary Clinton administration is also a case study in Warren's theory of power, an approach her aides and allies sometimes refer to as the inside-outside game, combining tough, often hyperbolic rhetoric to create leverage with quieter, hands-on, person-to-person outreach. So that really crystallizes one of the most enormous differences between Sanders and Warren and their campaigns. I believe, and I think the Sanders campaign does, to create lasting change, you have to have an overwhelming movement from the outside to create pressure. And everything will be much harder if you're unable to create a grassroots campaign and a grassroots movement. Warren's theory of change, while I think extremely effective in the Senate, in terms of leading from a presidential level, I just don't know if it would have the same teeth. And beyond just the fact that I trust Bernie to fight harder for a lot of things, and I think Warren's ideology is very rooted in anti-corruption, anti-Wall Street, all of those things, but Sanders' leftism is broader. I mean, just to prove this point, why are we just hearing about her pressure on the Clinton campaign now? Right? That's what happens when you play the inside-outside game, as opposed to putting outside pressure with a grassroots movement. So I just thought this article was really interesting, and I wanted to bring it to your guys' attention.